What's up, everybody? I didn't feel like talking about any sort of prepared thing. So we're just gonna play Stardew for a bit. I actually haven't beaten Stardew. I know you, and I know it's like an endless game, but I know there's like you can like roll credits and everything. Um, but Stardew's a chill game. And I feel like it's just like it's vaguely relevant to mental health, I guess, because a lot of people like these cozy games and everything like that. So once again, if people want to ask me questions or whatever, go ahead. Probably gonna be a short stream, which will be very funny for VOD watchers if this ends up being longer than that. But you'll know whether I'm right or wrong. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Um, but Yeah, I the thing about Stardew is that I'm like terrible at it, and that might just sound like oh, I'm just bad at things and everything, but like legitimately, like I feel like the thing that puts me off from Stardew is that I feel like I'm doing everything wrong at any given time. Like I feel like I'm like not actually like playing it as you're supposed to. Like I feel like I should be way further in like so many dimensions because especially like when it has something that it has a task that's just like go find this thing within this amount of time or something like that. I just like look for it for a little bit and then I give up because I'm like, okay, this is not an efficient use of time because like what if I keep trying to find it and then I don't end up finding it in time. So I just end up like not doing anything. Um which is very unfortunate. Um but because like I think it's like a well-made game and everything. I've heard the stories about like how it was made and everything like that, and that's like really cool. Um, I really like I really like how inspirational it is and everything. But you know, I don't know. I feel like that prevents me from like getting into the game very addicted, like a lot of people are. Oh, I can't even go because the festival's being set up today. That's unfortunate. Um, but it's weird because I started streaming so I could like start talking about like psychology related stuff. But I've noticed that like my my gas tank is like it's okay, it's begun, so I can just go right back. My gas tank for like talking about like full blown lectures. Typically, I could talk about psychology all day, every day, but there's something about like when someone comes to me with a question, I can always I've got answers for days and stuff like that. But like when it comes to um let's see. But when it comes to like the I don't know, when it comes to like questions that I propose, like, oh, maybe someone will like this question. Like, I'm not overly motivated to actually like do that. You know what I mean? Um, Probably kind of hard to understand, but um, but that I more so just mean that like if I know that someone's gonna benefit from it, or at least that I have like a very targeted way to try and help someone, then I'm way more motivated to talk about things. But like because I don't know if people are gonna get any benefit out of it and stuff, like I'm more motivated to just kind of have these open streams because like yeah, we haven't really gotten any questions like really ever. But like at least during stream, we do get a lot of questions when I'm off stream, but like not a lot of viewers come by and ask questions. But like besides that, I feel like if there's even a chance that someone's going to be more inclined to ask a question just because we're kind of chilling out and it'll give me something to do, then maybe it'll do that. But I don't know. Maybe people are actually more motivated when when I'm not just like chilling out because maybe they feel like they're interrupting the chilling out thing. But I don't know personally. I just know that I will be able to more genuinely and more not genuinely. I'll be able to like put my all into my explanations when I can like feel like I'm actually helping someone, because that's what motivates me to do things like therapy and everything, is because like someone comes to me with a specific problem and I can answer it. Um, but yeah, I just don't know what people do or don't want to hear about until the. But I am very grateful for people who ask questions, I like, even if like it's not during even if it's not during the stream, just anytime. Selling star tokens for just 50. Let me see what they even have for sale, cause like I don't even know if I want any of this stuff. Um, but yeah, so we're just gonna be chilling for a little bit. Um, let's see. I don't think I want any of this stuff. Does not seem worth it, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I guess that's kind of the point. It's kind of like a fundraiser-y sort of thing. Um, yeah, I'll play this just for the funsies. Oh, I can hit more than one at a time. Okay, I get you. Oh, those only let you get one. Okay, I see. No, the first-person shooterness of me. I'm dying. Ooh. I don't even have time to look at the. Oh my god. I don't even have time to look at my points. Um, but yeah, maybe someday I can talk about like the like I wonder if there's like any sort of thing that I can like even create like some sort of like mini lecture on about like the efficacy of like using cozy games as like a coping mechanism and stuff, and whether or not that's like more adaptive or maladaptive or whatever. Um, but I mean, I'm just worried that the answer is going to be like super obvious, but like that's like the most I can come up with at this point, which is why I kind of need questions. But you know, if we never get any questions today, because I know it's hard for people to like ask questions when like I know it's hard for people to ask questions when like there's no like even general prompt. Like I know people would be more motivated to ask questions if I gave them like a a more concrete thing to talk about, because then like they'd feel less pressure that they're going to like say something wrong. Um oh my goodness. This one's feisty. Um but yeah, so like I know that like this format actually might be even worse for some reason. Uh oh, thank you, Chloe, who's in the room with me right now. Then um I'll take questions even if they're questions that are just from the person who lives with me. Okay. Let's see here. How can you healthily deal with the loss of something fictional or media related, like a fictional character dying or a mobile game shutting down? I see the. I see. I am also a fellow Love Live enjoyer. But can I leave? Oh no, wait, there's a time limit. Um, I was just I was just saying about Love Live. I mean, like, this sounds so stupid, but like to people who genuinely grieve the loss of like fictional characters and mobile games and stuff like that, like I'm not even kidding. I think you need to grieve it like a real person died. Like it's like the what I've learned in therapy is that like grieving is all like not all grieving is equal, in the sense that obviously some things affect you more, some things are more prevalent in life, because grieving is the process of adapting to the absence of something in your life. And it's like fully adapting and like convincing yourself that like no, I will be okay without this presence in my life. And like it sounds stupid because I think the thing that prevents people from grieving, and therefore ironically just contributes to them quote unquote like get like feeling stupid because they care so much about something that, like, you know, quote unquote doesn't really matter, is weirdly their lack of acceptance over the fact that they're grieving leads to more grieving, which leads to more feelings of patheticness. Um, oh my goodness, Oxdawn, let's go. They're what like they're um like genuinely, like I feel like everyone always, because like there's so many invalidating thoughts that we have about our own thought processes. Like we'll have a thought, and then like the people who get, there are so many people in life who have a particular idea of like what is acceptable to grieve over, or what is acceptable to be, like they always tell themselves like, oh, I shouldn't be so broken up about this, like I shouldn't be sad, I should, like other people have to go through blah blah blah, and I have only gone through this many units of badness in my life. But like there this is what I mean though, is that like that's like typically I'd make fun of that because like that's like I don't relate at all, and it just sounds silly to like grieve a BTS rhythm game. But like genuinely what I'm telling you guys is like that feeling, like regardless of if you accept the fact that you're grieving or not, or whether or not you think the thoughts are silly and everything like that, like the fact is that you feel certain emotions, and that pushing them down only makes them last longer. And so you just kind of got to accept that, like, yeah, you can, yeah, it can be important to you, and also, yeah, it is kind of silly. Like, but once you accept that those two things don't need to contradict, it's not like, oh, if it's silly, then I can't grieve the loss of something. You can actually begin the grieving process and just feeling all of the sad emotions that are like, no, this actually meant a lot to me. I'm really sad that like this thing is gone from my life, and I really wish it was still in it, because I had so many good times with the BTS game and stuff like that. Um, put so many hours into it. It's all attached part, like, well, yeah, that's what I mean. Like that, like we attach such emotional significance to things, and then because the world would see it as ridiculous, we just accept that something is ridiculous, and like that in itself is ridiculous. It's like, oh, I should like quit telling yourself, like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way about something. Like like just the reality is that you do feel like it. Like we're like, I'm not gonna debate you on whether or not it's silly. It's just like the more important thing to acknowledge is that like you do feel this thing, and so like just grieve it. Like like what I'm trying to say is like don't half-ass grieving. Like don't be like, oh, I shouldn't grieve, so I'm not going to grieve, because then guess what? You're grieving still, and you just won't acknowledge it, and it lasts longer. So like no one wins. Like, and so just like, you know, grieving doesn't care whether or not you accept that you're grieving. Like you'll always be subtly grieving. So just whole ass it, and then you can move on with your life. Like you just have to accept the ego blow that you take when you accept the fact that yes, you are grieving a literal mobile game based on a boy band. Like, and that might be like, well, I feel ridiculous for doing that. I'm like, okay, I don't care if you feel ridiculous for doing that. The fact is that like it's happening, and so you should just accept it. Like, and so literally, like if you guys like if someone out there grieves the loss of a video game character, then you know, like this sounds really weird because of like I know a lot of people would like throw up their eyebrows and be like, oh, well, that's like very parasocial and all that sort of stuff, if that even falls under parasocial. I don't know. Like they're like, a lot of people might think that it's like over the top to like straight up grieve the loss of something like that, but like I think it's healthy to like if something genuinely means a lot to you, then like, you know, hold a funeral for the BTS mobile game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, do things that feel ridiculous, because those are the things your brain are probably like that would actually like help you in the moment. Um, that's my take on it. I think that grieving, I don't think all grieving is the same, in the sense that obviously some emotions are more intense than other emotions, but I think all grieving is the same in the sense that like if you need to do, if you're whether you're grieving the loss of an actual loved one or the loss of like something that was like there for you in a very formative part of your life, or just like something small that you just had a good time with and therefore have fond opinions of and now it's gone, then like regardless of the intensity or of the social normity of it, just like just like if you gotta grieve, grieve. Like you can either grieve and do it for a long time, or you can grieve for a little time and feel a little silly about it. Like I personally, I can't make that judgment for you. Maybe you would rather grieve forever if it means that you don't have to feel silly for 2 seconds. But I personally think that it's a better life to live when you grieve something short term and then you can move on with your life. Because if you're still grieving, that by definition kind of means that you have not adapted to your life without this thing. That's like literally like what the grieving process is it's learning to live without a thing or a person, or yeah. So that's what I would say about that, cuz like the connections you form with things are like they're like real, you know? Like they're not like just because the thing is not real doesn't mean it's not real. Like Joker from Persona 5 is not real in the sense that he is not a person, but like he's a thing as in a noun, as in like he is a fictional video game character that can affect people's emotions and things like that. Um what if it's like kind of still part of your life or still alive, just changed? Thank you for validating me. I feel sometimes I grieve over the silliest things because Aqua still exists and you can still play the game just modded. Yeah, so like that's what I mean. Like it's like what would you say to, this is going to sound so offensive to people who have gone through anything that's even remotely similar to this, but like genuinely, like how would you feel if like someone you knew lost their memories, or like something that you fundamentally made like thought was them? Like you would grieve the like I would argue that you would grieve the loss of that person, because like to you at least, like it's a philosophical debate, like the ship of Theseus and whatever, yada yada yada, like, but like genuinely, like you're still like a thing is gone, like a person in the form that you knew them is gone in a way. And so like whether it's like a game or anything, like people still like, we have this idea that like grief should only relate to loss, like to total loss of a thing. But like something changing means that you lose the prior version of that thing. So like, you know, I can grieve the times where like friends I still hang out with and I like we played outside on the playground when we were kids and we played like dumb stupid kid games. Just because like I can still see those people doesn't mean I can't grieve the memory. So like if you have something and it is lost in any way whatsoever, then just like grieve it. Like that's my take, at least. I think that like cuz grieving is not, it's not no one ever said that grieving should be isolated to like, that grieving should be solely isolated to things that are serious enough or justifiable enough. And it also said that you're only allowed to grieve something when it's totally gone. Like when you're not able to in any form interact with that thing or person. Like grieving is just grieving. And so, you know, like I can like, you can literally like grieve the loss of a day. Like you can just have a really happy day and be sad that like that day is gone. So like, and I weirdly think a lot of like people with very like boomerish mentalities would probably have the idea that if you start grieving everything in your life, then like then if you start grieving literally everything in your life, then like that causes more overall distress than not than like just, you know, like either pushing it down or like understanding, quote unquote, that it's not a big deal, like rationally. But to me, that just doesn't really make sense. Like to me, like yes, if we could create a reality where you didn't feel those negative emotions, that would be one thing. But like, I'm not a believer that like your the emotional energy tied to something can just simply be whisked away with like a philosophy. Like even in all of my spiritual practices and philosophies and all these kind of things like that, like even even in the face of all of that, like nowhere in my philosophies do I think that like does it center around just like shutting down emotions or shunning my emotions and things like that. Like your emotional energy still exists, and like the way you tackle it is very important, which is why people who like suppress their emotions because they're quote unquote like silly or not justifiable, that's why they're stuck in life. Like people like that are like the most common examples of the like you guys know this type of person in your life, the type of person who really knows what they want in life, but like just quote unquote doesn't do it. Like they just can't get themselves to do it. And it's because like they are subconsciously avoiding things that can activate that memory, like a la PTSD. Even if it's not actual PTSD, like that's like they're chronically avoiding things that activate that negative thought process. Um, so I know it sounds weird that I'm even and possibly even offensive that I'm even relating like the loss of a mobile app to something like losing a family member or to things like PTSD and stuff like that. But like we have to also remember that like a lot of people, I'm not saying that the people in chat talking about this like are like this, but I'm saying that like there are people in real life who like don't have real people to talk to, and like think about how much more that probably even affects them. Like if you like if like there's an emotionally shunned part of yourself and you feel like you can get away from that, or it can be soothed through like something like a mobile game. And like you know like it may seem stupid, but like you know we form connections through everything. That's why people like that's why escapism exists. Like that's what I don't get about like why people like do, they took my PNG wife. That's what I mean though. Like grieve your PNG wife. Like that's like it's not like it like Advait Vedanta. It's like non-dualism. So like two things that seem like they should contradict, and things that seem like they're opposites don't need to cancel one out, and they don't need to like they don't need to cancel one another out. And additionally, they don't neither one needs to win. Like it's not like if my grieving is like is is silly, then your brain does this thing where it's like, okay, so if it's silly, I shouldn't do it. And if it's silly, then I shouldn't be grieving. And if it is silly, and if it isn't silly, then I will grieve it. But like we never consider just like even if it's silly, I can still grieve it. Like I don't know if any of that like makes sense. Um Dude, I thought this guy was like 13, and then he's like, here's a cold one, unless he means like a soda or something. Life. Um, but yeah, you know, like this guy's a video game character, but like I could form a connection with him. Um, they take away my wholesome I will lose it. Bless you. I'm reading this real quick, chat. One moment. Oh my goodness, I'm cured. I am a fast drinker. Oh my god, why am I glowing? What did it do to me? All right, bye, dude. Um, but yeah, like so, like so like I don't mean this in a literal sense. Like I get why this happens, but like legitimately, like we as a society will see people who like partake in kind of chronic escapism. Like they like they have decided that like the outside world is a world that is like not worth the effort it takes to like interact with it. What should I give you? Want blackberry? No, I'll give you the good blackberry. Here you go. Oh, okay, I've already given her gifts. Never mind. Um My mom heard me watching this live stream and was immediately like, "Is that the dude just from your voice?" And I was like, and then it was like, "Come here, let me see his face." Oh my god, I gotta look good for the camera. Everyone, be cool, be chill, be chill. Hey, and I'm cool and not lame. I'm cool and not Lane Oxton's mom. But anyways, so like we have this idea in society that like if you partake in chronic escapism, like you play video games as a coping mechanism, or you just like retreat into media as a whole as like some form of escape. Like we look at those people and like we like laugh at them. Like we're like, "Oh ha ha, look how pathetic you are." Like um and all this sort of stuff. But like when you think about that, that's like kind of messed up in my opinion. Like there are certain societal things that like we're like, this is when you should show empathy to another human being who like is feeling a negative emotion. And like this is when like you should just be like, haha, you're stupid. Like, and like we have been primed to believe that like if someone is clinically depressed, like they have major depressive disorder or something, that like we should feel bad for them and we should try and help them, and like helping people is good. And then like if someone retreats into video games chronically, then like it's like, oh well, that's just pathetic, like that's just lame. Like that, like I don't, that he forms connections with people that's not even real. Like that doesn't, like that's just like, you cringe alert. Like, and like I don't know if you guys get this, but like there's like nothing inherently cringe about that. Like I know that you may think that it's cringe inherently, but like I'm trying to like think about like what is cringe about that. And it's like, oh, it's so pathetic. It's like, okay, but every standard of patheticness that you're describing applies to like someone with major depressive disorder. Like the only reason that you think that it's pathetic is because like society has told you that like, oh no, I'm okay with someone like not being able to get out of bed, but I draw the line at liking anime women. Like that's just like weird. Like that, like if someone genuinely like lacks human connection, and like the reason that and like the way that that manifests is that they like, you know, they like fictional characters and have to form bonds with them because every time they've tried to form connections with people in real life, they have determined that that is safer. Like think about like what point a person has to be pushed to that. And then imagine how emotionally distressful it is to have your coping mechanism be made fun of and also taboo. Like not only are you as a fundamentally as a human being not acceptable, the way you cope with being unacceptable is also not acceptable. Like think about how trapped that makes a person feel. I don't know. I just feel like that, like the thing you guys are talking about with like grieving fictional things, like fictional people or like apps or everything like that. Like it doesn't matter if society thinks that it's okay for you to feel a certain way. The reality of the situation, and like that sort of mentality is what leads to people being stuck, because they're like, they listen to society and they're like, I shouldn't feel this way. Stop feeling this way. I shouldn't feel this way. Stop feeling this way. The reality is that you live in a world where like you are affected by what is currently affecting you. Like you can't like, retroactively be unaffected by something because you convince yourself that you're not affected by it. So, and that like comes with a lot of personal judgments, you know, like that comes with a lot of like, oh, well, if I'm affected, then it means this and this and this and this and stuff. And like, I'm of the mind that like, it doesn't really mean anything. Like that's all like coloring that your brain attaches to, like, it's a bunch of significance that your brain attaches to something like that. But like, I don't know. In my opinion, it's just like things are just things. Like it's just like if I get dopamine from a card in a card game, it's not like, oh, that makes you a loser. It's like it's just like, no, I just like the objective thing that happens was like I got dopamine from a card game. What the significance that you are attaching it to is like this societal vague standard of like what is acceptable based on like what you value as a person. And like something about that, I don't know. I don't think that that's like, I don't think that that's an efficient way to run society, because society is like like I know society, like I don't want to hear any Joker jokes in there, but like there, but like genuinely, like I think that like society kind of pretending that like either people are inherently more virtuous, like it's like because a lot of people, we're better about this as a society now, but like we used to consider like depression as like a lack of willpower or like a I don't know how to describe it, like a lack of like a moral deficiency. Like if only you were if you could grit your teeth more through stuff, if only you were tougher, then like you wouldn't be depressed. And like I hate to say it, but like that's like just not how the mind works. The mind adaptively responds to what it's been fed as information, and like your mindset can change. I'm of the belief that you're almost inherently like nothing in particular. Like you're I'm very nature and not nurture. There are some things I think are, I mean, I'm very nurture and not nature in my theoretical orientation. But like I do think that nature makes you predisposed to certain things and all that sort of stuff. And I do think that our minds are fundamentally wired a little bit differently. But I don't think that that translates to you're you're more of a loser inherently. I think that that's more just like how does your mind is your mind more hyperactive or is it more like calm and stuff? Like that's the sort of things that I think are different. Um, but yeah, like if you're but if you have like certain thoughts and everything, we spend so much energy trying to like convince ourselves that we don't feel those thoughts, because like that's what society tells us. Is it tells us like, no, that's a bad thought, don't feel that thought. I don't know how to tell you guys this. Thoughts are just like automatic and they just like exist. And like when a thought comes up, you don't have a choice of whether or not it came up or not. Like you had that thought, and so like you dealing with the thought and accepting it like is not like, oh, I'm just gonna give up. Like acceptance is not giving up. Like acceptance is actually the exact opposite. Once you accept that, like, yeah, even though I feel pathetic for thinking this thought, once I accept the feeling and the negative emotions that come along with accepting the thought, then I can begin to make progress to like moving past the thought and saying like, okay, I feel pathetic. Now what? And then move forward with your life instead of avoiding the feeling of being pathetic or trying to like will a reality into existence where you're not pathetic. Like I don't know if I'm making any sense right now. But let me see. I'm going through all of this right now, actually, LMAO. Two of my favorite Roblox games are under threat of being shut down, and I also feel stupid about it because it's Roblox. That's what I mean, though. Like, that's what I mean, is that, like, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't feel stupid. Like, I'm not telling you that it is not stupid. Like, I don't think it's stupid, but, like, I'm not going to make the same mistake society does where I try to convince you that my standard of values are the correct standard of value. I'm telling you that your mind is automatically doing a thing. It is sending you information that's like, this thing, this reality, and the thing that's happening right now, this makes me sad right now. And like, with that comes the connotation of feeling feeling emotionally kind of pathetic. Like you feel kind of like, I shouldn't be feeling this. Like this is silly. Like what am I doing here? Like, but like that's what I mean, is that like two of those things can coexist simultaneously. Like you can say like, yes, I'm sad about a Roblox game shutting down and I feel a little stupid about it. Like it just because it's negative doesn't mean we don't get to grieve it, or it doesn't mean that it actually is stupid. Like just understand that your perception is simply just your perception, and so just and don't invalidate it by saying, see, you're wrong. Just understand that that's just a piece of it. It's just like, okay, thing happened, I feel this way about it, and the product of me feeling this way about it, there's another layer to it. Like, so like there's a thing, and then the feelings we feel in, like, I guess I should go deeper because it's kind of an iceberg thing. There's like the thing that happened objectively. There's the significance that our mind attaches to it. And then there's an even deeper level, how we respond to the response to the actual thing. And so like a lot of people, and this is where people get messed up. This is where people don't know how to process their emotions, because they process their emotions, they begin to process their emotions, and then they think to themselves, oh, well, I shouldn't be feeling like this in the first place. And then that puts a huge wrench in them actually digesting the emotion, because it invalidates it and tries to forcibly stop the what am I trying to say? You're trying to like force quit the emotion, because you're like, oh, well, I'm okay with grieving something. I'm okay with the sadness as long as grieving it doesn't feel stupid. But the stupid is just an emotion, much like the grieving emotion. Like it's like the sadness that comes with grieving. And so like, then tunnel down into that. It's like, okay, can I forgive myself for feeling a little stupid? Is it okay for me to feel a little stupid today? And like, it is absolutely crazy. And I don't mean crazy as in like the insensitive way. I literally mean like crazy as in like it's wild how many people in our society are held back because they are willing to go through so much emotional pain, but they are not willing to feel stupid. Like if you feel stupid, that's like the worst emotion of all. And so that's what I mean, is that like everyone needs to understand that like when it comes to processing emotions, there's going to be two waves. There's going to be how you feel about the thing that happened, and then how you feel about the way that you feel. And that's where the real progress happens, because so many people understand that they're sad, but then they don't accept that they're sad because of the connotation of the second wave of emotions. Because they're like, oh, I'm willing to be sad about the thing as long as I don't feel stupid. And it's just like, if you could also accept that you feel stupid, then you could actually make some progress. You could actually look yourself in the eye and just say, yeah, I'm sad. Like there's two emotions now. Instead of just one, there's two. I feel sad and I feel stupid. And then, figure out why you feel stupid. Be like, is that my thought or is that society's fault? Like why do I feel like, why is that inherently, like as an objective action, just like seeing this thing that brought me joy go away? Why is that inherently pathetic to me? And like go down that line, and think like, what is the root of me feeling stupid? And use all these emotional processing techniques that we talked about. But like, that's a huge mistake that people make, is that they're like, yeah, I started like processing my emotions, but then I stopped because it made me feel like I felt so stupid that I was even having to process the emotions. And it's just like, that is then an emotion that you should process. So yeah, I'm kind of going in circles at this point, but like, I just think that grieving is like a very weirdly underrated thing in our society. Like it's a very like, we all are like, yeah, it's okay to grieve, but we have all these rules. We have all these rules of like what's stupid and what's like based. And like, it's just like, don't like I don't know how to describe it, but like it's like I was talking about the other day. I'm just like, there is no dopamine in my screen right now. Like there's no dopamine in the screen. It's all my perception of the dopamine. And so similar to it, like it's my perception that gives my brain dopamine. And so weirdly, all of the emotions came from inside, even though I'm claiming that they came from this external thing. And it feels so automatic that we attribute it to it. We're like, oh yeah, I got to scroll to get my daily dose of dopamine and stuff like that. And so, but like what we don't understand about that is that like, that's like what happens with prejudices too. So like society was told, like they were told at a young age, like, hey, just so you know, if you ever feel like this, that's bad. And then that thought was implanted in them. And then so now, every time they see that, they react that way. And I don't know how we've progressed so much as a society with mental health, and yet like we don't And yet we still are like, oh no, but for like gooners and everything, it's okay to make fun of them. Like that just doesn't make sense to me. Like regardless of the what you say, like they're just human beings, and they like get responses out of certain things, and their brain is behaving in a logical way because the brain learns like, I don't get dopamine from this and I do get dopamine from this thing hurts, this thing doesn't, and it creates all these calculations of what you should do. And then people have the audacity to like have not lived your life and tell you that you are like weak-willed because they have had better RNG than you. Like, I don't know, something about that doesn't seem right to me. I don't like, something about that seems off. I don't like how like because like if you actually tunnel down into like what's wrong with certain things and what's okay with certain things, like you understand that there's like literally like no correlation. Like that sounds like hyperbolic, but like literally think about like what the difference between like why do we think that like, or why do we think that like it's okay to why do we think that it's okay to like receive mental health treatment? It's like, oh, because we all decided as a society that that's okay now. And like, but like if you ask like people from like 50 years ago, it's like, why is it bad to receive mental health treatment? It's like, oh, because you're like reliant on this thing and you're not strong enough to deal with it on your own. And because like they didn't understand how emotions work back then. And I don't blame them. The science wasn't very far or anything. We were very less educated. The place you would go to for that was like Eastern stuff. And even back then, like they told you to not like Eastern stuff. So like they wouldn't have found it there either. And so, you know, I don't think it's a problem of like, and I wouldn't like see these people and then like yell at them because like they're going through the same problem too. Like one of my favorite things to understand about why people can be so like hateful and everything is that like people just model what they know. So like a therapist's favorite thing to ask their favorite thing to ask someone who's who is like, I don't get it. Whenever someone does this, I have this response to it. I love to ask them like, okay, how did your parents respond to you when you did that sort of thing? Or when you felt a certain emotion? So like, it's like, why do boomers say like, if someone's crying, why do they say like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, you're like lame and stupid, and like you're just like you just need to tough it out and stuff? It's like because when they were sad and they expressed sadness, their parents likely told them the same thing. And so we have to think about that from like a super meta perspective, because that's how it works with like everyone. Like you think of like something that like, if you can even be this introspective, think of something that you're like instinctually biased against, like something that you inherently think is a bad belief and stuff. And now think about like why do you respond unempathetically to that thing? I'd be willing to bet, and this isn't always, I'm not saying this is like a 1-to-1 rule, but most of the time, when someone's reaction to something is seemingly very disproportionate to the emotional energy that it actually warrants as an action, it is typically because it's like, you know, if it's like, I don't know, whenever I get sad, I get so angry at myself for being sad. And it's like, or like, even better, it's like if I see someone else getting sad, I don't know why, but I get like angry at them. And it's just like, okay, how did your parents treat you when you got sad? It's like, well, they got mad at me. And it's like, but I'm not my parents, so I don't get it. It's like, it doesn't matter. When you're a kid, all we know how to do is model the behavior of adults. So like, you learned at that age that when someone is sad, the appropriate response to that is to be angry at them. And you probably actually like there's a lot of people out there that have like a lot of rationalizations for like why it's good that they believe the things that they do. And like we have this idea that like if we have a good reason for something, then it's like a logical thing. which like objectively is kind of true because like logical doesn't mean correct, if that makes sense. Like logical isn't the same as right. Like it doesn't mean that it's correct. Logical just means that there is a logic to it. And so like we have this idea that like if you can come up with a logic then it's correct, but obviously that's incorrect because like both sides of an opposing argument will have like really deep reasons for why they believe a certain thing. And then like that like they'll have really deep reasons for why they believe a certain thing, but then they'll be wrong. Like we'll be able to prove with science or something that they're wrong. And so we're like, how is that possible and everything like that? And it's just like you have to understand this is how you get to the root of like a lot of prejudices that you may have. And the reason that's important isn't just because I'm trying to tell you to be like a peaceful person and everything like that. It's just me telling you that like this is how you learned how to have compassion for yourself. Because like if you hate yourself, it's like when did you learn that the behaviors that you partake in or the feelings that you have are bad? And then more likely than not, you're probably going to find out that like you believe these things about yourself because your parents taught you or like your guardian figures taught you or whoever it may be. You were taught by the world at a young age that the response you're having to yourself right now is the appropriate response to what is happening. So like if you were sad as a kid and then like I love asking people like, so how did your parents respond to you being very emotionally heightened? So like if you were feeling a very strong emotion and you wore that on your sleeve, like you displayed that you were feeling a strong emotion, like it's like if you were angry and you showed everyone that you felt angry, did they respond to that with compassion and were like, oh, I'm really sorry you're feeling angry? Or did they say things like, you're ungrateful, you don't get, like, you're so lucky, there are starving kids in Africa, all this sort of stuff? Did they invalidate your feelings? And like, so a lot of people who were invalidated as kids are like the most invalidating of themselves right now, and that leaves them really stuck in life. Because think about how lost someone is in life if like emotions are the ways that we like navigate this world and make decisions and come up with our beliefs. Is that like our emotions are like a guide. Now imagine how bad it would feel. Like imagine how blind you must be if like you were taught that certain emotional responses were incorrect. Like you shouldn't be allowed to feel certain things because they're stupid. Like just think about that. Like how well do you think that person's going to be able to navigate their instinctual responses to certain stimuli? Like these are the people that we find and they're the most stuck in life because they've learned to just cram it all down. Because what happened when you expressed emotions when you were a kid? Your parents told you, stuff it down. Be a man. Don't feel that. That's not, even though you're feeling it, and that's just an objective fact is that you're feeling it right now, stop feeling it. And so what do you tell yourself? Stop feeling it. And I'm not saying that no one gets any benefit out of any certain emotional coping mechanisms like pushing it down. I'm aware that there are very good reasons to push down your emotions. I think disassociation is a very good example of sometimes very adaptive suppression of the emotions. So like if you're numb to the emotions, it doesn't mean that you're stupid. It means that there's probably a time in your life when it was really adaptive to suppress your emotions, or that you were taught that you should suppress emotions. So like, this is like how you become introspective about this sort of stuff. This is how you venture to have this is how you venture to like have a lot more understanding of the way that your mind works. Like this is the stuff we're always talking about here on stream. Like why do you feel the way that you, like, when did you learn that this thing you consider is reality? When did you start believing in that concept? So yeah, like I don't know if that made any sense, cuz like I'm kind of just rambling. But like I don't think there's anything I'd change about what I said. So like, yeah, no, I just think that if you're feeling something, I'm sorry, but you have to grieve the universe where you weren't instinctually feeling or thinking that thing, because like the reality is that you're thinking it and you're feeling it. So like, regardless of if that makes you feel pathetic or stupid, okay, now let's shift our focus. We're now in a reality where you feel stupid. Like, nothing about you suppressing your emotions is going to change the fact that those emotional circuitries are like firing in your brain. So like, the reason people remain stuck in life is because they refuse to face that demon. And so once you're finally okay with facing that demon, then you can begin to make progress in your life, because now you can move freely without moving away from that emotion. Did I forget to water these? Maybe. Um but yeah, I hope that helps. If anyone has any questions about what I just said, please ask me, because I'm happy to clarify, because I'm kind of a rambler. Um I'm someone who notoriously, I there are two types of people in this world. There are people who think to think to talk, like they think before they speak, and there are people like me who talk to think. And like, I noticed that I actually, it's easier for me to think when I speak out loud. So like, I'm one of those people that like likes to speak to myself out loud, which is also why I can like have a chat that is sometimes very inactive, and then I can like continue to talk the whole time, is because like I've just gotten good at like speaking what my thought processes are saying. Um I'll keep that on. But yeah. No, it's so funny that we started playing Stardew and now we're talking about like grief and social stigma and all this sort of stuff. But like, thank you guys for like adding like, your experiences and like actually like sharing a little bit about like yeah, I actually grieve this because like, see how that works. Like, once we're not once we're not terrified of like the social stigma. Well, see, like, that crushed me. Like, yes, when my Stardew crush rejected me initially, that really hurt, and I had to grieve that. So like, and like, people can think that that's stupid, but I think that she's stupid, and that's my respectable opinion. Um, and so like, I but like note it, but like, this is the thing, is that like, everyone pretends that, let's just like, oh well, I can't grieve something fictional because then I'm like stupid, or I'm all these sort of things. But like, look at in chat, like, literally everyone who's been talking in chat today, every single person, as like, every single person, not every single person, most of the people in chat have displayed that, hey, yeah, I actually relate to this. I feel a little silly about it, but I actually grieve something fictional. And it's like, oh, I also grieve something fictional too. So like, this is what I mean, is that like, when we remove the social stigma, like, you realize how many people are like you, and how many people are just like, yeah, I feel this thought and I feel like I shouldn't have this thought. And it's just like, just have the thought. Like, it's there anyways. Your thoughts are automatic. They're uncontrollable. Like, you can only control what you do with the thought. And like, I'm no expert, but like, I think that like, having a negative thought for less time is better than having a negative thought for more time. That's just been my experience of existence as a whole. So like, yeah, no, that's what my opinion is. Um but I think that that's like, I think that it's really cool how like, people can share that with each other, and we can all kind of like, realize that like, oh, actually there's a lot of people who also feel the same way. Um and like, oh, like, I feel, in my mind, I was telling myself like, well, if I feel this way, then I am a loser. Like, I know you guys didn't say this stuff. I'm saying that like, this is what a lot of people think. Is a lot of people think in life like, if I think this, then I am this. But like the reality is that like that in itself is like a value that we attach to it. That is a perception. That is a rationalization of what's happening. But like the reality just is that like you're a person who felt this emotion. That doesn't like mean anything. It doesn't make you anything. Like if there are normal people in the world who can form bonds with characters from a video game, then like why are you automatically a loser for having formed a bond with either characters in a video game or the existence of a video game as it is in its current or previous state? Like I don't know, just like once you like really deep down explore it and you don't just have like the goo goo gaga brain approach of just like, well, this thing bad because it's stupid and you're dumb if you think that. Like it's just like once you like dissect their argument, it really doesn't track with like any sort of like logical reasoning. It literally like if you actually talk with those people and ask why they think that, it typically just boils down to like because I said so. And then like, you know, I feel for those people because like once again, if you dive deep into their trauma, it's probably because when someone displayed an openness of, hey, I'm connected to this thing, then their parents were likely like, that's stupid. You shouldn't feel like that. Or society told them that, or like, you know, just like anyone. But like at some point, people who believe that sort of stuff learn that at some point, whether it's you telling yourself that or whether it's you telling someone else that. It's like you learned that at some point. So that's just why it's important. Um, that's why it's important to just like understand as a principle is that like you're not a bad person for thinking any specific thing. You're not a bad person for you're not a good person for thinking any specific thing. Like you're not anything. Like do you guys get like I'm going to get like hyper philosophical here for a second, but like do you guys get how like that's like in itself a social concept? Like it's like I just don't get how that makes more sense to take like the super simplistic approach of like if people think this then they're obviously a bad person, because like we think you ask people who believe that and they're just like, well, it's just logic, like it just makes sense. But I'm just like, okay, but like literally like what is the mechanism of being a good person? Like what makes a bad person and a good person? And like I don't know, I don't know, I just don't think that thoughts are an indicator of, and I don't think emotions are an indicator of that. Like if I asked you guys, like, because I'm not saying you should think one way about this, I'm just saying that like people would have different opinions on it, which means that it is debatable. So like if someone had anger problems and had a lot of thoughts about hitting people, but they didn't hit people and they really tried hard to hold that back and they got treatment for everything, like is that person a bad person for having those thoughts? It's like I'm of the idea that no, but I respect it if you think yes, just because like in my mind, I think that thoughts are automatic. I don't think we control thoughts. I think we control what we do with the thoughts because our brain just kind of supplies us with thoughts like they're RNG, in my opinion. And so when you do that, what was I trying to say? Let me reset. So like if that thought doesn't make that person a bad person, why are you a bad person for having a specific thought? So once you understand that, and it's like, well, I'm not a bad person for having that specific thought. It's like, okay, so why are you running from it? It's like, because it makes me feel this way. And it's like, okay, that's once again just your brain rationalizing this thing that is completely subjective and because like what literally happened, what objectively just happened is you had a thought or emotion. And then your brain told you that is a bad thing to think. Don't think that. But like you think about like why your brain's telling you that, and it's not because your brain's realizes, oh, look, I'm a bad person. That part of the brain that tells you like, hey, it's not good to think about doing blank bad thing. That's the part of you that proves that like you're good. Because like I feel like good people wouldn't have that part of their brain who think that. Like so like it's so I'm not saying that like if you accept your thoughts and you're and you're like more accepting of yourself. I'm not saying that like, oh, so if I invalidate my thoughts and say I shouldn't be thinking that, then that makes me the best person. That's not what I mean by that at all. I mean just like understand that like that like you don't need to attack thoughts just for existing. And if that part of your brain comes up that just tells you that's a bad thought to have, understand that like that's just the part of your brain that understands logically that it's probably not a good thought to have and you probably shouldn't act on it. It's the part that controls your behavior. But like just because it reinforces that message through telling you, hey, this thought's bad, doesn't mean it's actually like objectively a bad thought to have. That's just the way the brain talks to you. So like simply if you have a thought, just like have the thought, and then like if it brings up emotions, be like, okay, it brought up this emotion. It doesn't mean that like the emotion is reality, but it also doesn't mean that I should just not consider the emotion. Just listen to it. Listen to what your mind does and understand like, okay, I thought this thing. And then because I thought this thing, I felt good and or bad and whatever like that. And then because I thought that, I thought this. And then, okay, because and my response to that thought is feeling like this. I don't like that thought. I'm going to start moving away from that thought. Oh, wait, let's catch that thought. Do I actually want to move away from this? Is that something I want to do? Do I want to not, is it worth it to suppress this emotion if it means that like if it means that it comes at the cost of like life proceeding the way it's been going? And then like I don't know, I once again can't make the decision for you. I'm of the mindset that as long as you're in a safe environment, that processing emotions is an overall good thing, and that suppressing emotions overall tends to be a lot more maladaptive and than it is adaptive. Once again, you determine that for yourself. It has a lot that might just be my experience, but like I experience a lot of people who are like used to be in bad situations, are no longer in bad situations, but live life as if they are in those bad situations, and they still live with the emotions that were tied to the negative event. And to me, that tends to stagnate them a lot in life. So at that point, I would recommend it a safe environment that like, in my personal opinion, that like digesting the emotions and just tolerating the emotion when it comes up, it's just like, no, well, we can't do this because if we do, we'll feel stupid. And it's like, okay, so we're going to feel stupid for a while, and then just watch how your brain reacts to that. It's like, no, don't do that. This is what we've been avoiding forever. And it's just like, okay, like that's like it's just a feeling. I'd rather be in a better situation if it just means that like something feels unpleasant for a while. Like, why are you okay with going to the gym if it means it sends you a literal physical pain signal? Why are you willing to delay that gratification and deal with pain now, but you're so avoidant of the emotional pain of that? It's because like, you know, even that, it's like, well, I can avoid feelings of feeling ugly if I go to the gym, right? Like even this thing that causes pain, I'd rather deal with physical pain than emotional pain. And so it's like once you can kind of, if anyone's like works out, like if you know what a plank is, like I feel like plank's a pretty common exercise. I feel like most people would probably know it, but like if it, like plank is like considered, it's like if you ever want to slow down time, do a plank because it hurts more than anything. And like if you want to get good at processing your emotions, a huge thing is simply learning toleration of emotion. So like feeling the emotion and be like, okay, even though this feels terrible, we're actually paradoxically not going to move away from it right now, because I think it's worse for us to move away in the long term. And I want to just sit with this emotion. Just sit there. And if you feel stupid, feel stupid. It's not going to last forever if you're actually fully feeling it. Like, because that's what emotions do. We have the law of homeostasis, where emotions, if you actually feel them and you're not half-assing them and running away from them, emotions are temporary. Like because people are like, oh, well, I'm anxious all the time. It's like, okay, sure, you could have some like disorder or something if you're diagnosed with it and everything, but like a large part of people who are like fairly anxious, like they just are running from the anxiety the whole time. And like what typically gets them better is when you like teach them to like be anxious and then just be like, okay, so we're gonna be anxious for a bit. And they're like, what do you mean just be anxious for a bit? Do you want me to be miserable? And it's like that very process that very process is not good overall. Um so yeah. Like there so like I that's why I think that avoiding negative emotions isn't very good, because like at least you can just whole ass it, and then you can, if you can tolerate the negative emotions of life, then like you start to be in control, because then you're not running away from the negative emotions. All right. So, I'm feeling good. I've gotta end stream because I gotta go eat dinner. But good news is that I think this was a good stopping point. I'm very happy with a lot of the group collaboration that we did. A lot of people sharing their experiences of feeling a little silly because like they took something that society doesn't want us to take serious, and they took it seriously. And I think that that's really valuable. So I thank you guys for participating in that. I think that's really cool. And I also appreciate the questions that we got. I really like how active of a chat we had today. And yeah, so I'm gonna just, business as usual. If someone wants to come on stream and talk about psychology stuff, talk with me about psychology stuff. If you got any questions, send them in chat or DM them to me on Discord. I've also got a YouTube channel. Check out that YouTube channel, and I'll try and talk about any of your questions in a future video, or I'll have a conversation with one of you. So yeah, thanks for coming out, everyone, and I'll